Force 13 US and Caribbean. Live. This is a live shot out of one of the wards in Tokyo where the river is already starting to rise as Typhoon Hagibis gets ready to bear down on the mainland of China, on Japan. And yes, good evening guys, you're not seeing things. This is Force 13 US and Caribbean stepping in for Force 13 this evening, as we are going to be covering Typhoon Hagibis right up to landfall. So we will get started right off the bat. We're going to go straight to a split screen for you guys. Gma Radar on the left, that live shot there on the right, and we will fade our team in that consists of Samuel, David, and myself, Timothy Ringo of Force 13 US.
Hi.
Good evening,
Welcome.
guys. And we will go back. Yep, and we will go back to the live shot there of the Gma Radar. And yes, you guys are not seeing things. This is Force 13 US stepping in, helping out with Force 13 for Typhoon Hagibis coverage. We will be going non-stop throughout the night here on the East Coast of the United States until we have landfall. Gma currently projecting a landfall in Shizuoka Prefecture. It will go through the bay and then will possibly impact mainland China, mainland Japan. I don't know why I've got China. I don't know why I've got China on the brain, but this could go through a lot of the wards into Tokyo itself. We have a lot going on, and that is the US studio. You guys do see on the bottom bar there. That is some of the stuff that I've been working on for the US channel. This is my debut hosting the Force 13 main channel, so I do apologize if some of my graphics aren't as good, and I do apologize. I am not native to Japan, so when we start talking about landmarks and places, my Japanese is not that great, so my pronunciation will not be on par. So I do apologize ahead of time if I butcher some of the names. But we're going to go back to the split screen as this camera is really starting to zoom in on this bridge. And while we're doing that, David, Samuel, do you have any news coming in off the wire? I know we picked up a lot of news earlier before we started tonight's show, but what is what you guys seeing off the news wires?
Well, I would first like to let you know that I, being a having a good amount of knowledge in Japanese, and especially in kind of Japanese language, I am able to pronounce most, if not all, of the landmarks in Japan. So I believe that is going to help. That should help you out a lot. But I want to get right to the breaking story. We do have we have been Hagibis, which we've been tracking for several days throughout the Western Pacific Ocean, is now about to make landfall in Japan near Tokyo, and obviously it's a major concern, given the immense populations that are in those areas. So if you are residing, if any of you are residing in Japan, it's particularly in the Tokyo region, you should definitely be preparing for this storm, because it is going to be a historic historically intense storm, this part of Japan especially.
Indeed. Actually, some of the headlines we were looking at before we did come on air is NHK Japan and Japan Times both noting that Hagibis has the potential to dump as much rainfall that has not occurred in this region since 1958. And some of the forecast models are calling anywhere between 600 and up to 1 meter. Yes, you heard correctly, 1 meter of rain in and around these areas. JMA forecast will actually pull that up right quick. That is the current track from the JMA, taking it through Shizuoka Prefecture, just to the west of Shimoda. Possibly could graze back out over Sagami Bay and could end up coming back overland near Chigasaki, maybe going to the west of Fujisawa. And then from there, it is really going to be a matter of how close it is going to start getting into the wards of downtown Tokyo itself.
Tim, I'd just like to bring to the viewers, and before I do, we are live streaming onto the Facebook page. However, the national television, NGK, Tim, they're reporting NHK World News, Japan's top government officials are carefully monitoring the situation across the country as typhoon edges closer to the eastern coastline. There are postings about if you lose internet connections, there will be and phone lines. There will be Wi-Fi hotspots. However, I was saying to Tim earlier, it looks like we have one fatality that the motorist was out on a road, and it appears that the wind overturned the vehicle. The local police are saying that the motorists did lose their life. So at this point in time, it's not good to be on the highways or even local streets, because the wind factor, which is visible on some of the live streaming webcams, is something else. And Tim, we're also talking about the numerous warnings for the Japan region.
Yeah, we were, and those are going down across the bottom of the screen. We'll come back to those warnings here in a minute. We're just going to go back to that split screen. This live shot is out of Fujisawa, which is projected to be in the landfall path of Hagibis later on this morning on the east coast of the United States. Early afternoon Japan local time, as it is 13 hours ahead there. And we will go back to the JMA cone with those watches and warnings. And oh, that's the live. That's not what we really wanted. Let's see. Is this being... There we go. No, that's watches and warnings. Okay, so everything's... There we go. It's being a little uncooperative. Of course, it is 2 o'clock in the morning here on the east coast of the United States. But here's what we've pulled off of the newswire so far this morning. A lot of this coming off of NHK World News and Japan Times. Right now, seeing that authorities have ordered thousands of people in Shizuoka, Tokyo, Gunma, and Wakayama prefectures to evacuate their homes immediately as Typhoon Hagibis does come towards Japan as of 10 a.m. local time. So this would be as of 4 hours ago. The directives apply to more than 8,000 residents across Kikugawa City in Shizuoka, Oshima Town in the Tokyo Prefecture, Ueno Village in Gunma, and Tanbei City in Wakayama. An evacuation order means authorities consider the likelihood of a disaster to be imminent and urging people to immediately move to safety. The advisories also include Gunma, Chiba, Tokyo, Kanagawa, Yanamashi, Shizuoka, and Mie prefectures. About 1.8 million people could be evacuated later on as this does get closer. Evacuation orders and advisories are ranked on a level 4 of 5, so that is the Japanese equivalent of saying, yeah, this is pretty much a mandatory evacuation. Some rivers are already starting to flood in and around the areas and prefectures of Japan. Some areas that are already at flood danger level include the Isugawa River in Ise City in Mie Prefecture, the Kamogawa River in Toba City in Kanagawa Prefecture, and south of Tokyo, the Hayakawa River in Hokoni Town. So those are some of the rivers that are already starting to have dangerous flooding in and around the country of Japan. Also, what we've already had issues with is we've already had some power outages being reported. 7,000 households in the greater Tokyo area are without power. That had gone down to 6,000 households and a little over 1,000 in the Ibaraki Prefecture, 6,000 in Chiba Prefecture, and 200 in Saitama Prefecture. That is not also counting 3,300 homes in the Mie Prefecture. And we've also had tornado reports. We did have a tornado touchdown in Chiba Prefecture. I believe it looked pretty impressive, almost borderline wedge, probably no more than EF2. But we have, and according to what David has alluded to, we did have that fatality in Chiba Prefecture earlier today. So that is what we have going on. We're going to go back to the cone and the JMA radar as we do keep going through. You can see where the Eye of Hagibis is just to the south of the Shizuoka Prefecture at this hour. And you can see some of those heavier rainfall amounts coming across a lot of those prefectures now. We'll see if we can get a few of those prefectures hammered down, as some of those heavier 50 to 80 millimeter marks are starting to come down in western Shizuoka Prefecture. You have some coming down in Yanamashi and up into places like Saitama, into Tokyo itself and Kanagawa prefectures. Now, I'm not sure if some of these heavier rainfall amounts have any tornadic activity in them, but last I looked, and we will actually pull this up, it's gone now, but there was a level 1 tornado alert in effect for Saitama Prefecture earlier, but that has been allowed to expire. So there are no tornadic alerts for any of the prefectures of Japan at this hour. And if you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. It will light up real nice for our worldwide team here, as we do have David Tones from Force13 Australia stepping in and helping out on the Facebook group. You have myself, Timmy Thuringo from Force13 US, and Samuel, also from Force13 US, out of his Chicago studio. So we have a lot going on this evening, and looks like we're losing our one live shot out of Fujisawa. That might be having some issues with that camera now. But we will go through, and you guys can see some of the other watches and warnings that are going on in the United States. Those are up for U.S. interests on the continental U.S. We're mainly live to help assist the information for the military that is stationed in Japan. There are a few United Army and military installations in and around the United States. One of our own is in let me find where he's
Fusa.
Yes, he's in Fusa, which is on the western side of Tokyo. Thank you, Samuel, for that information. And we will go back to the split screen with the radar and this last shot of Fujisawa. And again, if you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. We do want questions so we can pass all this information out to you guys. We'll go back to the live shot, and we will bring up the RAM MB image so you guys can see it. And right now, RAM is not being very cooperative. It wasn't earlier, so we won't be able to get rapid scan. So I do apologize ahead of time for that. And I think David has some visitors, so we will not be able to do too much in terms of getting some stuff off the news wire. So let me see if we can get some RAM imagery here going. And right now, we're really just in a wait-and-see moment as the Eye of Hagibis is still well offshore. But we're going to stay with this all the way up to landfall. Our own Nathan Foy may be coming on later on to take over coverage, maybe a few hours down the line here. But we're going to try to stay with coverage as much as we can. And yeah, Ramambi is not being cooperative. So we're going to have to try to see if we can get some Himawari imagery up here. Okay, there we go. We got some. It's not going to be the greatest, but yeah, there is Haggis there on the left. We'll still have our live shot there on the right. And that is what Hagibis has been looking like the last couple hours there. Did I just... Okay, there we go. And we're getting some questions coming in. Gary Snow asking, what's the likelihood that Typhoon Hagibis will make multiple landfalls? There is actually a really good chance that we'll go back to the JMA cone for that, as it is projected to go over Shizuoka Prefecture. It has a really good chance that it could come back out over Sagami Bay, maybe just grazing the western edge of Shizuoka Prefecture and getting up into Kanagawa Prefecture. If it does stay back, if it does get back over water, I don't think it's going to have enough time really with the water to get back into any kind of intensification stage. So places like Atami up towards Odawara, Hirasuka up towards Fujisawa, you guys are going to be catching maybe either the worst of it, or if it does go back over Sagami Bay, you may be on what they call the dirty side, which is the northwestern side of Hagibis, and that is where the least intense is going to be. But places like Isahara, going up into Abina, Yamato, going up towards Yokohama, Kawasaki, and then getting into some of the wards of Tokyo, this is going to be coming your way probably in the next 3 to 5 hours. Projected landfall is in Shizuoka Prefecture, just to the west of Shimoda, on the western side of the prefecture there, in about the next 2 to 3 hours. And we have another person, Hollybeth, asking, what is the area like near Fukushima? I have to remember where Fukushima is at, so let me take a look at where that is at.
Is north of Tokyo,
North of Tokyo,
I believe.
Oh yeah, Fukushima Prefecture. Okay. Right now, the way the JMA cone is looking, it is going to go... This will actually miss the Fukushima Prefecture to the west. However, that's not to say that they won't get impacts. Hagibis does have a very large wind field, 300 nautical miles in terms of tropical storm force conditions that it can dispense. That's why, as you've been seeing going across the bottom, we do have the typhoon warnings and the tropical storm warnings for the prefectures of Japan. Now, that list is not completely inclusive, so there may be some prefectures that I may have missed. So if you're in anywhere in Japan, you may want to check with the Japanese Meteorological Agency, or check your local website on your prefectural government agency and see what warnings they may have for your area. But currently, it looks like this will go through the Tokyo Prefecture, maybe catch the Tokuichi into the Ibaraki Prefecture, and then may go out through the eastern Fukushima Prefecture before it does get back out over open water. Places like Sendai, Ishinomaki may get hit with a little bit of activity, but it's looking like it's going to come out just to the south of Minami Soma, and then we'll be back out over open water. And by that time, as Nathan did allude to in one of his earlier updates, it should start getting into a transitioning phase of going back towards extratropical. And then getting into some of the other questions this here. Will it hit Chiba? There is a good chance that this will be going through Chiba Prefecture. Chiba is actually going to be on the dirty side if it does go through downtown Tokyo. So Chiba Prefecture will get the worst of it. I know this is an area that last month also took Typhoon Faxai, where Tokyo and the wards were on the weaker side of it, and Chiba took a direct landfall for that area. So there is a lot going on, and we'll go back to the RAM imagery. Somebody asking, is it starting to look like it's turning extratropical? Not yet. I mean, you can see as we do zoom in, it is still looks very fully tropical. Its outflow, though, is starting to get very, very intense. You can see it is covering most of Honshu, and it's overcast. Some of its influence is getting into the northern Hokkaido Islands. Actually, it looks like some of it may be actually catching that peninsula of Siberia just off of northern Russia. And then you can see the bottom part of its influence now down into, I believe that is Kyushu there on the southern side. And maybe just a few little outflow bands coming off of Shikoku and getting down into the Ryukyu Islands. And somebody asking, will it disappear after hitting Japan? It will start, once it does get off of the Japanese mainland and back out over into the northwestern Pacific, sea surface temperatures are not going to be very favorable for it to maintain intensity. It will start making an extratropical phase and will start moving out towards the northeast. Maybe could get up towards the Aleutians of Alaska by the time it does become a post-tropical system. And we have someone saying that they're reporting in from Toyama. We are experiencing a downpour at the moment. Yeah, we will go back to the JMA radar, and we will actually update it so you guys can see where some of these rainfall maps are coming down. And we'll take a look, make sure there's no tornadic activity, as we have had some tornadic activity earlier. We did have some level 1 tornadic alerts through Saitama and Chiba Prefecture. We have had a confirmed tornado that did touch down in Chiba Prefecture earlier this afternoon, local time. Would be late evening here on the United States East Coast. So we will go back. We'll get this going here, and we will go down into we'll go down here near Shizuoka. We'll get this running. You guys can see just how much rain is coming down. We'll actually go back, come off a split screen so you guys can see this. Okay, we have another person saying they'll be landing at Narita Monday morning. Any concern for the Narita airport? I do believe Narita airport will be shut down, I believe, the end of today and going into tomorrow. I'll have to verify that, but I do believe I did see that come off of one of the Japanese newspapers.
So, Tim, sorry, mate. I cited on Twitter, Reuters news is reporting a minion have been told to evacuate.
Okay, we will take a look at that information. I'm trying to see what we have on the airports because someone is flying into that area, and we do have some news coming off of the NHK news wires that the Tokyo Metropolitan Government has opened temporary space for foreign tourists who've been stranded by disruptions to public transportation due to Hagibis. The facility is the Tokyo Bunka Kaikan building in the Ueno district in the Taito ward. It'll remain open from 1 p.m. Saturday to 9 a.m. Sunday, but the hours could change depending on the severity of the typhoon. So we will get that information out there. And for those that are not familiar with Japan, and I'm not too familiar with some of the wards. Okay, the Taito ward is just to the north of downtown Tokyo. So you want to get up to probably taking Highway 1. And anybody that knows me on the U.S. channel, when I do this coverage, I like to get right down on the street level. So it would be Highway 1 coming out of Tokyo. You want to go to the Taito ward if you're a tourist, and that will get you to some shelter ahead of Hagibis. So that is some of the news that is coming off of the local news wires. We'll see what else is coming off of NHK Japan, because that's where we're going to be getting some of our information from. And yes, for that person that did ask about the flights coming in and out of the area. Airlines in Japan have canceled more than 1,600 domestic flights on Saturday due to the typhoon. Japan Airlines has canceled 543 flights across the country, including most arriving and departing from Haneda and Narita airports. So, yeah, once you do land in on Monday, you might be stranded, but depending on how conditions are, they might actually reroute you out of that area. Also, all Nippon Airways have canceled 569 flights, including those to and from Haneda and Narita. Also, other carriers are included Skymark Airlines with 111 flights canceled, Jetstar with 118, Fuji Dream Airlines, all 62 flights are canceled, Peach Aviation, all 58 flights are canceled out of there, Starflyer, 57 flights out of there is also canceled, Airdo with 60 flights canceled, Solaseed Air with 51 flights canceled, Japan Transocean with 17 flights canceled, Spring Airlines Japan with 10 flights canceled, Air Asia also canceled, and Japan Commuter with 6 flights canceled. Also, international flights include 115 Nippon Airway flights, most going into and out of Haneda and Narita. Japan Airlines has also canceled 94 international flights, mainly to and from Haneda, Narita, Chiba, and Kansai. And Peach Aviation has also canceled 20 flights, mainly to and from Haneda and Kansai airports. So if you're going to be flying in and out of these areas, you may want to check with your local airline to see if you're actually going to be able to get out in those areas.
And somebody in Osaka is reporting that the rain is sideways at present.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not even getting the worst of it.
I don't doubt it. We will take a look over at Osaka Prefecture. Yes, and we'll go to the JMA map here. I believe this is where Osaka Prefecture is at. If I'm not correct, let me know. See, Osaka.
And Tim, while you're looking for that, NHK World News reporting a power.
Okay, we lost you there, David. One more time with that.
Information from local governments has been extremely heavy over the last several hours.
Okay, and we will come off a split screen here so we can go back to the GMA radar for a second, as I have found where Osaka is at. Again, I do apologize. My Japanese geography is not that great. But yeah, this is the Kyoto Prefecture down in here. Osaka just to the south of Kyoto. And you can see this heavier band is moving into the Osaka and Kyoto areas now. So yeah, I don't surprise that we are seeing sideways rainfall in and around the Osaka area.
And Tim, a couple of questions from our viewers. Honey is indicating South Korea airports have cancelled all flights to Japan. Apparently they read that on the news wires from here in Seoul. And another one from Galaxy Cat: will airlines stop flights after Haggis? Hagibis, so for that Hagibis. Passing Japan.
Most likely what they will do, and we saw this when the United States dealt with Hurricane Dorian last month, is most of the airports are going to shut down temporarily until Hagibis gets through, and then most of the airlines and airports will do what cleanup they can in order to reopen the runways and get back to normal operations. So we will see the airlines cancel flights and probably shut down for probably no more than 24 or 36 hours. But once Haggis does get off the Japanese mainland and is back over the northwestern Pacific, it will start opening back open for business. And some of you were asking about Melissa. We will note Melissa is a subtropical storm down to 50 miles per hour. The information there is on the bottom bars going across the bottom of the screen. And that's not much we're going to say really on Melissa. It is creating some tropical storm force conditions for the waters off the coast of New England. And you can see that on the top left of the screen there. That is the National Weather Service watches and warnings that we normally use on the United States channels and live streams. That bright red there in the top right corner, that is the tropical storm warnings that are being issued by the National Hurricane Center for those waters off the coast of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and into New Jersey. But the main threat is going to be Hagibis over the next 4 to 5 hours, as we will come back down, and you can see the eye of Hagibis still well offshore just to the southwest of the Shizuoka Prefecture. And again, if you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. It'll light up for our team. Really good to see. And we are going to be going non-stop coverage until we have a confirmed landfall, and we will stay on probably until this does get past the Tokyo area and out into the northernmost prefectures. In the meantime, while we're keeping the JMA radar up, we will keep scouring for any news items that is going to be impacting anybody that is going to be in the area. And actually, we just got some more news off of NHK. The authorities are noting that as of 2 p.m. that sea levels are already 1 meter higher than normal. Officials are urging people to exercise extreme caution between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. local time, while tide will be at the highest in those regions. So all of the waterways along the easternmost prefectures, you're talking your Shizuoka, your Kanagawa, Chiba, up to Ibaraki, getting down into those prefectures. If you're in those areas, you want to stay off the coastline, as storm surge is already starting to cause wave action more than 1 meter above normal, with the high tide already being factored in. And high tide will be coming up in about an hour and a half. So that is going to really make the storm surge potential a lot more dangerous than it already is. I know Nathan was saying maybe we could see some storm surge of maybe 3 to 3.5 meters. However, due to the terrain of a lot of the Japanese coastline, that storm surge is not going to be as bad as if it were, say, coming over and making impacts, say, here on the east coast of the United States, where it is primarily flat land. So that is going to be one of the deterring factors for the storm surge, is the Japanese terrain is going to work in its favor. And we do have a few more questions. Does Hagibis still have an eye? It does have an eye looking off of Ram MB. You can see it is there, but it's very clouded. We'll see if we can pull up some infrared here so you guys can see it there. And yeah, there you go. You can see where the eye is starting to get a little obscured. It is under that central convection there. It is pretty well clouded over. And that's usually a sign that Hagibis is starting to weaken. You can actually see some of those cloud tops on the western side starting to really cool off over the last couple hours. So that is actually a real good sign. And this imagery is about an hour and 10 minutes old. So some of those are going to be a lot colder. And you can see just how big its influence is, where some of its influence is going into the extreme southeastern corner of Siberia, Russia there. And some of the outer bands are already, some of the outflow and outer bands are already going over central and northern Hokkaido, and does come back into Kyushu and Shikoku. So a lot of areas of Japan, including mainland Honshu and its prefectures, are already getting hammered by the rain, and this has not even made landfall yet as of this time.
Absolutely, and it's no, from what I've been seeing on live feeds in the Tokyo area, we're already seeing some significant impacts from both heavy rain and winds in the Tokyo area. So, and unfortunately, the conditions are going to continue to deteriorate for for the next few hours until the center of Hagibis passes through the area.
Indeed. We'll go back to the JMA radar and update it here so you guys can see just where Hagibis is currently at. And we will give you an idea of where some of that heavier rain is starting to fall. We'll actually go into the Kanto region to start, as that's where we're seeing the heaviest rain. And you can see, and we'll put this in motion for you guys. You can see some of those heavier readings. They're 80 millimeters per hour. That is easily 3.5 to 4 inches of rain once you do convert it into standard measurements, and that is starting to come through. Once this does load up, that does look like it is starting to go through the southeastern Saitama Prefecture of Japan at this hour. So places, well, once it decides it wants to load, there we go. Yeah, this is Shizuoka down here. This is Kanagawa. This is Tokyo here. And yeah, you can see some of those heavier bands. Actually, looks like coming through the southern Kanagawa and into the Shizuoka Prefecture. So places that are getting impacted by some of this heavier rain include Gotemba, Hadano, Hirasuka, Isahare, Hadano, getting up into the Mount Tanzawa area, Mount Amuro, Mount Mishotai, over towards Mount Fuji and into Gotemba. So those are some of the cities that are getting some of those heavier, darker reds and purples. That is 50 to 80 millimeters of rain per hour. Once you do convert that, you're talking 2 to 4 inches of rain per hour. And you can see some of those heavier areas up into the Saitama Prefecture also getting really hammered. Places like Noda, Toride, Kashiwa, Abiko, Inzai, Sakura, up to Ryugaski, Ushiku, Joso, Noda, Kasukabe, and into Saitama itself, getting a lot of that heavier rain that is coming through that area. And people asking, how's it going to affect the rugby tomorrow? There is a really good chance that I know there are a lot of fans that are trying to catch the Formula One race that is going on there and the international rugby match. I'm not entirely sure what the impacts are going to be for those areas, as I don't know where those two venues are currently at. But I would not be surprised if those events aren't either rescheduled or suspended. I know the Formula One race had its qualifying moved to the same date as race day, so that will probably make some very interesting strategies for the race crews that will be racing in those areas.
Tim, I have a question from Facebook. Some background on the typhoon season in this part of the world. They're referring to typhoons struck Japan on September the 9th. So, what's your thoughts on the season so far up there in the Westpac? And for our viewers, considering I'm here on the east coast of Australia, and we are waiting for the Bureau of Meteorology to come out with their 2019-20 tropical cyclone outlook document within the next 2 weeks. The Southern Hemisphere's season starts on November the 1st. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on the typhoon season up there in the Westpac so far?
I'll be honest, David, it seems like what we've had is a tale of really two different seasons. Normally, the West Pacific normally is a lot more active than what we have been seeing. I'll be honest, I am a little ignorant on the West Pacific, as I didn't really start tracking this basin until 2013, 2014, but I have dabbed into it, tracking typhoons like Usagi, Mindul, Chiba of a few years ago. But this is really a tale of two different seasons. Usually your West Pacific is a lot more active than, say, the East Pacific and Atlantic. And I'm actually surprised we have not seen more high-end typhoons and super typhoons than we have. I know we've had a couple major typhoons. I think we've had a couple super typhoons. Hagibis being one, Wutip being one earlier this year. And then in comparison to what we've had in the Atlantic, where we've had Dorian make a major Category 5 landfall in the Bahamas, and then Lorenzo debatably as a Category 5, normally you don't see the two major basins, the Westpac and the Atlantic, being almost even. Usually you see the Westpac just dominating in terms of the more powerful systems that you normally would see in this area.
Right, and sorry, viewers, I have my grandson here, and we now what's the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre saying about the typhoon?
We can take a look at that.
Try information up, or if you've got it there, Tim.
I do. Joint Typhoon Warning Center going with currently 90 knots. That's 1 minute sustained. The JMA was running with 85 knots, 10 minutes sustained earlier, with gusts of 110 knots. Typhoon force winds going out anywhere between 70 and 85 miles. So places like Shizuoka Prefecture, you are probably getting close to getting typhoon force conditions, if not getting tropical storm force conditions, as the wind field on Hagibis is insane. You're talking anywhere between 220 miles on the southwest side up to 270 miles on the northeast side, 235 on the northwest. So some of the prefectures are already getting tropical storm force conditions to the west of Shizuoka, and then you have 265 to the southeast. So some of the islands off the coast of Shizuoka Prefecture are also already getting tropical storm force conditions. So places like Aichi, Shizuoka, Yamanashi, Nagano, Gifu, maybe down into the Mie, Osaka, and Wakayama prefectures are already getting tropical storm force conditions already due to how intense the wind field and wind profile of Hagibis is.
Absolutely.
And we do have a question asking by how much will the storm weaken will be a Category 1 typhoon. Currently, the JMA is projecting, and I believe the JTWC is on board with this as well, an 80-knot landfall, which once you do bring that to 10-minute winds and miles per hour, you're looking at a high-end Category 1 equivalent of 90 miles per hour that will be making landfall in the Shizuoka Prefecture later on this morning, on the east coast of the United States. This at a little over 2 or 3 hours.
Afternoon.
Yeah, a little bit over 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon.
No, I can't.
Local Japan time.
Because I'm using.
And David having a little issue with his grandson there.
He wants to watch a video, but I can't because I'm using the two computers and going onto the Facebook. Right. You want to say hello? Hey? No. All right.
And that's not a problem. And we do have one remark that this typhoon is a lot bigger than Faxai. You're absolutely correct with that remark. This is much bigger than Faxai, and the threat level of Hagibis is much, much higher. We're actually going to go back to the JMA cone for a moment here to help illustrate this. Faxai, when it came through, it went through Tokyo Bay and made a direct landfall into Chiba Prefecture. That is this area that I'm showing with my cursor. The current JMA track takes it further west and puts a lot of the wards of Tokyo and a lot of the prefectures in and around the Tokyo metro area in the worst of the situation. So you're talking places like Tokyo, Minato, Shinjuku, Setagaya, Kawasaki, Yokohama, getting down to Fujisawa, where we were looking at that live camera earlier, Hirasuka, Hadano, Odawara, down to Atami, Mishima. Those cities are going to get the worst of this. Whereas when Faxai went through, it actually went up through Tokyo Bay And the worst of it that would have gone through was all to the southeast of the Tokyo metro area. It made a direct landfall in Chiba Prefecture, in between Narashino and Chiba, and then went out through Sakura, Narita, and then out through Kashima on the way out back over the open water. Sadly, Hagibis is not going to be that fortunate. You're looking at places like, and I'll call them out again, and I'll actually go a little bit further with this cone. Places like Fujisawa, Yokohama, into the wards of Minato, Shinjuku, Taito, Tokyo, Katoshika, Matsudo, out into the Saitama Prefecture, up through places like Tsukaba, Tsuchiura, Ishioka, up into Kasama, and then getting out into the Ibaraki Prefecture, places like Hitachi, Takagahi, and getting out towards Iwaki, and maybe up towards, I believe the cone has it coming out somewhere near Minami Soma. So any places to the west of Minami Soma and to the south of that, that does include Fukushima Prefecture, Togichi Prefecture, Saitama, into Tokyo, Chiba itself. You guys are going to be getting the worst of this with the current cone as it's going. And we're actually going to switch back over to the split screen, as it does look like our live camera in Fujisawa, it is starting to get really intense there. So we will go back and let you guys take a look at this. JMA cone there on the left. This is a live shot out of Fujisawa, just to the southwest of Yokohama and Tokyo, and you can just see just how rough it is starting to get there in that area. And again, if you guys do have any questions for us, as we are going to be going nonstop coverage here on Force 13 with Force 13 US and AU helping out on this coverage here.
Yes, and Tim, it's been reported, I think the JMA has issued a level 5 warning that is flood landslides in Tokyo and other areas.
We will take a look at that and see if that has actually been issued.
Level 5, so I say that would probably be the highest.
Yeah, we will take a look at that. Yes, it is. And we will actually pull this up on the JMA website here. As I was just looking at this, and yeah, I mean, this is not really good news. As it looks like the high risk is just to the north of the Shizuoka Prefecture, and I'm actually going to have to pull my cheat sheet up for these prefectures again. So places in around Shizuoka, Yamanashi, Nagano, Gunma, Saitama, you guys are in the highest landslide risk map. That is due to the heavy rain, flooding, and inundation that will be coming with Hagibis. And then you can see further to the east of it, and actually getting further north up into the Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures, into Ibaraki. You also see that pink level there. That is the next level down. That is the level 3 alerts, and we'll actually go over those. With the purples being in some of those prefectures we just called out, those do require an evacuation order. That level indicates extreme risk with conditions comparable to those accompanying previous landslides. Landslides may have already occurred in those areas. You need to take urgent steps to ensure safety as evacuation is not complete. The brighter pinks, as we were looking up towards the Miyagi and Fukushima prefecture, those are evacuation advisories. And then getting into the oranges, which is a lot of the other prefectures, you do have level 2s, which that is basically a heavy rain advisory. Attention should be paid attention for the possibility of landslides, and you need to be following the local prefecture government news agencies and the JMA for weather bulletins and monitor the situation for rainfall intensity and duration. So definitely not really great news for the island of Japan at this hour.
So, Tim, I'm back to normal. um, so, the level 5 special warning would be a rain emergency advisory. I'm just monitoring the Twitter platform, and I just cited.
I would say, David, the closest thing I could really compare it to would be here in the United States, where the National Weather Service issues like a flash flood emergency. That would be the closest thing I could really equate this to.
Yeah.
And then you can getting into the inundation risk map. This is the flood risk map here that we're looking at. And this is as of 15:30, so this is as of 20 minutes ago. And the highest risk that we're seeing inundation, we'll actually advance this out, does look like it is in maybe northwestern Yamachi Prefecture, getting up into Nagano Prefecture a little bit. You can see where those darker purples are, and that's just as of 15:30 Japan time. We haven't even, actually that's where it's been updated to. So you're already starting to see some really heavy inundation being reported, projected in those areas. The actual areas of Nagano Prefecture that could be impacted could be places like, let's see here. Could be places like Takasaki getting up to Shibukawa. So any places in and around that area, maybe just a little to the west of that. So you're probably talking up into some of the mountainous regions like Mount Haruna, up in that area, and some of the villages, maybe even into southern Gunma Prefecture, could be getting some of this later on with some of that heavy inundation. And again, if you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. We will answer any question. And we do have one person asking, so most of the damage is because of the rainfall. The rainfall is going to be the main predicator at this time. But we will see a lot of the heavier winds start coming in later on once Haggis does get closer. And we do have someone asking, will Fujisawa get flooded? There is a really good chance that we could see some very heavy impacts in and around the Fujisawa area. As we will go, as our live shot there is on the right, is out of the Fujisawa area. And right now, Fujisawa is projected to be right in the direct line of Hagibis, as it will be going through that area into the Tokyo metro area later on in the afternoon and evening Japan local time. And we have someone saying, do we have a webcam at Shizuoka? It just made landfall. Let me look back at the Gma Radar, see what we do have for that area. And we will see if we can verify if it has made landfall there. If it has, we will see if we can find a webcam out of the Shizuoka Prefecture area, and we will verify that landfall. And again, this is Force 13 with your nonstop coverage on Typhoon Hagibis. And we will come back over. We will come back to that webcam, and we'll see if we can get a webcam out of Shizuoka Prefecture here in a little bit. And we'll see if we can verify if we actually do have a landfall. We have a viewer that's saying that it did make landfall in Shizuoka. We will take a look, see if we can actually verify that.
Yeah, I'm just having a look to see what cameras are available.
Yeah, if you can, that would be great, David. Okay, we have, I'm not sure who we have running the main channel chat, but thank you for that information. Closest part of land is still 38 miles from the center of circulation. As yeah, the eye has not come up on radar yet, but you can see just how precariously close Hagibis is starting to get to the Japanese mainland at this hour. And we have someone asking where are we located at. Our main headquarters for Force 13 is in Manchester, United Kingdom. That is where Nathan Foy is based out of, but right now Nathan has the night off. So you have Force 13 U.S. headquarters out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and you have Force 13 Australia out of Brisbane, Australia, bringing you this non-stop coverage on Typhoon Hagibis on Force 13. And taking a look at the JMA radar, really, it is really hard to see where we're. Okay, it looks like I got a center fix now. Now that I'm actually able to take a look at it, yeah, the eye is starting to fall apart just a little bit. You can see maybe the eye wall sitting right there, so it is just to the southwest of the Shizuoka Prefecture. Yeah, that is still well offshore. Okay, it looks like we have our Force 13's own Nelson on the main channel helping to
yes,
cover the chat for us. Thank you again, Nelson, for your help. It is definitely a big help having someone cover the chat for us. But yeah, it is still offshore, still just to the southwest of the Shizuoka Prefecture. In fact, closest land point would be, see if I can get a town here. Looks like it may be getting very close to Ihama or Kumomi. Those are going to be the next two closest towns on the Shizuoka Prefecture side there that may get the landfall. It may also get
eye wall has seems like the eye wall has started to really collapse. That the eye feature is really not visible anymore.
No, it wasn't. And when we were looking at RAM imagery, it does look like it was getting clouded over. So this could be falling apart. But the center of circulation itself still offshore. It does look like it is just to the south of Ihama. So you're talking, it is getting precariously close to making a landfall. Possibly could maybe hit Ihama, maybe getting up into Komomi, maybe Ishibu up towards Iwachi. So some of those little towns and villages in those areas could be taking a direct landfall here very shortly. And then you can see also on the JMA radar some of those heavier bands going through the Saitama Prefecture, getting up into the Nagano Prefecture, as those are dropping 50 to 80 millimeters of rain per hour as they do go through. That's 2.5 to almost 3 inches of rain going in through these prefectures at this hour. So that is what we do have going on from the JMA. If you guys do have any questions for us, you can ask us here on Force 13. We will answer any and all questions. And since we are running off the U.S. studio, we do have all of the watches and warnings that are impacting the United States at this hour. You can see those at the bottom of the screen, along with the tropical storm warnings that are in effect for the New England coastline of the United States, where subtropical storm Melissa is still churning up the waters there, and we do have those tropical storm and typhoon warnings in effect for the mainland of Japan in through a lot of the prefectures. Those lists that I do have are not completely inclusive from all the prefectures, so you will want to reach out to your prefectural governments and the JMA for any information for your prefecture.
Tim, there's been a request about a possible short break, and also it looks like one fatality and for injuries so far?
I don't know. I don't have all of the segues for breaks like Nathan has, but we will take a quick break. We will go back to the Force 13 US test screen. We'll be back in a couple minutes and we will pick up our coverage on Typhoon Hagibis here on Force 13.
Okay, so at this point I am
This is Force 13 US and Caribbean, live. Good morning, guys. This is our second hour of coverage on Typhoon Hagibis here on Force 13, being hosted by Force 13 US. On the left side, we have the JMA radar, where Hagibis is getting eminently close to a landfall at this hour. On the right, we have a live shot out of Fujisawa, where the conditions are starting to deteriorate in that area this hour. Again, good morning, guys. I am Timothy Ringo, your host here for Force 13, being hosted by Force 13 US. Our team again this hour is David and Samuel, and we will get back to this split screen as we can see just how bad it is starting to get in the Fujisawa area, as the water has been starting to slowly rise in this area. We've had some questions that have come in during the break. We have also had some new information coming in. So we will fade David and Samuel back in, and we will get that information out to you guys. Again, good afternoon to you, David, there in Brisbane, and Samuel, good morning to you in Chicago.
Good morning.
Good to be here once again, and not long before the typhoon makes landfall.
Indeed, and we will go back to that JMA radar for the viewers just so they can see just how precariously close Hagibis is to getting to landfall. It is just about 35 miles away from landfall on the western side of the Shizuoka Prefecture area at this hour. We were discussing last hour some of the flights that are being canceled. We have had some questions if there's been evacuations done in the Chiba Prefecture area. We will be getting that information researched for you this hour. Along with any other questions you may have for us, you can tag us at Force 13, and we will get any information out to you that you need in order to make it through this dangerous situation. And just to recap what we have had happening, we do already have some rivers in and around some of the prefectures of Japan that are already hitting dangerous flood levels. There are some voluntary and mandatory evacuation orders for some of the prefectures. This does include some of the wards of Tokyo and into Chiba. There is also now a shelter open for any tourists in the Tokyo metro area. They can go into the Taito ward of Tokyo, and you will be able to find shelter there if you're a tourist in and around that area. And we do see a couple of people asking about a tornado. Yes, there was a confirmed tornado that did touch down in the Chiba Prefecture earlier this morning, Japan local time. We're not sure just how bad it was, but from what we have seen of it, it does look like what we would consider the equivalent of maybe an EF1 or an EF2 if it were to have happened in the United States. So that is just some of the things that are happening for the area of Japan this hour. David, Samuel, do you guys have any new news in terms of what is going on the ground in Japan at this hour?
Well, regarding the typhoon itself, looks like a lot of the backside of the system is actually pretty dry in terms of rain accumulation. So it looks like once the center passes, the rain threat will diminish greatly. But right now just about rain is the rain threat is pretty much at its peak.
All right, and just looking off of some of the news wires, a lot of this is coming off of NHK World Japan. Right now, the Shinkansen bullet train services across Japan have been reduced or suspended since Saturday morning local time. A lot of the train services in and around the Tokyo metro area have stopped. Other Tokyo train lines are being suspended in stages. Service may not start back up for the trains at the earliest noon Sunday afternoon local time. Also, all most of the Nippon Airway and Japan Airlines, they have canceled almost all domestic flights in and around the Japan area. Also, all other in and outbound out of the Tokyo, Haneda, and Narita airports have also been canceled. There are also other carriers that have also canceled. Also, there also is the National Tourism Organization is operating telephone hotlines in English, Chinese, and Korean 24 hours a day. If you need assistance, that number is 050-3816-2787. Also, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government has opened a building in Ueno called Tokyo Bunka Kaikan that is for tourists that can stay there temporarily until Hagibis does pass through. That is in the Taito ward of Tokyo, so you will want to go there if you need to get shelter. Also, other news that are starting to come in is officials saying residents in the central Kanagawa Prefecture need to exercise caution as water will be released into the rivers from the Shiroyama Dam in Sagamihara City starting at 5 p.m. local time. So they will start discharging the water from the Shiroyama Dam in the next hour. That is also some of the news that is coming off of the NHK Newswire. And the Tamagawa swells to evacuation warning level. Japan's Land Ministry and Meteorological Agency says the Tama River, which flows through Tokyo, has reached evacuation warning levels at an observation point in Chofu City at around 1:50 p.m. local time. That level is used as the benchmark by local governments, which urge residents in surrounding areas to evacuate when it is breached. Authorities still expect the river to swell. The ministry and the agency are calling on people in 13 areas along the river to be alert. The affected areas are the city of Hachioji, Takikawa, Ome, Fuchu, Akashima, Hino, Kondatachi, Fusa, Kome, Tama, Hamura, and Akiruno. So if you are in those cities, you need to be keeping an eye on your local prefectural governments as they may issue evacuation orders for the Tama River that does go through Tokyo and some of the wards in those areas. And that is just some of the information that is coming off of the Newswire, courtesy of NHK Japan. So if you guys do have any questions about what we've just covered, or if you have any other questions regarding what we do have going on at this hour, you can tag us at Force13. We will have no problem answering any and all questions. And I'll actually take a look, see what what I can find off of the Japan Times at this hour, as they were really also echoing some of the same things that NHK was echoing earlier.
Yeah, and looks like just we really have, and to kind of reiterate, given that the storm is going to continue to weaken as it heads across Japan and makes landfall and really starts to lose its center of circulation, it's really we're still looking at a major disaster event. The wind, even though the wind speeds are going to be around 80, 90 mile per hour, 90 miles an hour, sustained and decreasing, really, what's characteristic of weaker storms like this one in this phase is really going to be the rainfall and the flooding and the storm surge, especially on the more eastern side of the storm center in this case.
Right, and just looking at some of the news information that is coming off of Japan Times. The Japanese Weather Agency has issued that level 5 warning for some of the prefectures, and what we've been seeing from the JMA and a lot of the Japanese news agencies is that this is going to be the worst natural disaster in terms of rainfall since 1958. And we do have a question asking, is this the strongest Japanese typhoon landfall ever? I believe Nathan would be the historian on that. I believe Typhoon Vera may have been more intense than this. I could be wrong on that, so don't hold me to that. But fact side was actually a lot stronger when it came through. It was 110, 115 miles per hour, category 2, category 3. Hagibis is right now right about 90 or 100 miles per hour at this hour. And we'll actually take a look and see what the JMA has done with their information. I know my information is probably a little outdated at this hour, but we will see what the JMA is running for. And they actually have some emergency weather warnings in effect, so we will go over these. And yeah, we are starting to see emergency weather warnings in effect for the Nagano Prefecture for heavy rain and inundation. This is what we were afraid of. So places like Naganoshi, getting into Ueda, Tomi, into Komoro, Saku, Sakuho, Karuizawa, Miyota, you guys are all under Chino, Fujimi, all those towns, Inashi, those towns I just mentioned, you guys are now under heavy rain inundation emergencies. So do not be surprised if the Nagano Prefecture government does issue evacuations for this area.
Yeah, this would be pretty much the equivalent of a flash flood emergency here in the United States, which is the highest, basically the highest level of the highest flood alert level you can have. So it's very important that you heed the evacuation orders if you are in these areas, because it will save your life. And I am seeing quite a few people in this stream who are in the stream chat are actually in Japan as we speak, mainly around the Tokyo metro area. So definitely you need to be keeping an eye on the progress of this storm, and make sure you heed local emergency official advice.
Indeed, and we're getting another webcam up here. I'm trying to see where this is out of. Okay, so this new camera that we have is out of Shizuoka Prefecture. It's actually out of the town of Satoshi. So we will get this going and we will bring this up so you guys can see just how bad it is. And yeah, this is starting to get really bad in and around the Shizuoka Prefecture area. We'll actually bring this up here on the split screen. So you have the JMA radar, which we will refresh there right quick, and that is out of the Satoshi area. This is the traffic point in and around Satoshi, and you can see those waves coming up under some of those roadways. I would not be surprised if the waves don't find a way to get up over some of those barriers and start getting onto that roadway and start flooding that over. Maybe even could possibly create enough storm surge action that it actually does topple that traffic point.
Conditions aren't very good.
No, they're not.
There. Looking at the various webcams, visibility.
Oh yeah,
not good.
Just this camera that you found out of Satoshi, it is just a mess. You can see just the wave action there that is just coming up under the traffic point there. And to give the viewers an idea of where Satoshi is at, I'm actually going to look that up. Right quick while we have the JMA radar coming up there. Okay, we'll go back to the GMA Radar so I can actually get a better idea of where this is at geographically right quick. Because the translation I have on this. Oh, okay, so this is out of Satoshi Shizuoka City. So that gives me a better idea of where this is out of now. So yeah, this live shot is out of Shizuoka City, which is... Okay, my... I will admit my Japanese geography is not that great. Okay, Shizuoka City is on the... Okay, now I've got it. Shizuoka City is on the northwestern side of the Suruga Bay, so they are actually getting probably the northern eye wall now of Hagibis at this hour. And looking at the JMA radar, yet you can't really see where the eye is at. That eye wall has really collapsed in the last hour or so. So really trying to find where the center is going to be really hard to determine where an actual landfall is at now. But you can see some of those heavier rainfall amounts, 80 millimeters an hour going up through the Shizuoka Prefecture into Nagano Prefecture. Also, we're starting to see some of those heavier rainfall amounts, again, 50 to 80 millimeters an hour, starting to come down into the Saitama Prefecture, getting up into the... God, I'm losing my prefectures here. Getting up into the Tokichi Prefecture. Some of the lighter rain getting up into the Fukushima Prefecture. So, yeah, Shizuoka is definitely going to be ground zero for a potential landfall. The big wild card is if it's going to actually make landfall on the eastern side of Shizuoka, or if it could actually try to make a run up through Suruga Bay. If it does that, then you're talking places like Numazu, getting up into Mishima, up to Susono, in that area. And that would be a jog to the west of what the JMA official cone was. This actually had this making landfall just to the west of Shimoda, and then crossing Shizuoka Prefecture, and then going up towards places like Odara, Hadano, Hirosuka, and then making a run towards the downtown Tokyo area. So if it has made a jog to the west, that is still going to be a big issue, because now you've got places like Gotemba getting up into the western wards of Tokyo, going out towards Hachioji, Takikawa, getting up towards Fuchu, Sagamihara, and places like that will actually be getting the worst, and that would put the worst of it of Haggis, which is that northeastern side, right over downtown Tokyo. So places like Tokyo, Minato, Shinjuku, Setagaya, Kawasaki, and Yokohama would get the worst out of this as it does go. And you can see the waves that are hitting that traffic point there, just out in the area of Satoshi in Shizuoka City, out in that prefecture at this hour. So again, this is not looking to be a really great situation for anybody that is in the Shizuoka Prefecture area this morning and getting into the afternoon hours, as it is now actually about 4:30 afternoon local time there. Japan time, 3:25 in the morning here on the East Coast of the United States, where Force 13 is being broadcast to you from Force 13 U.S. headquarters in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And we have our own David Tones for Force 13 Australia providing coverage on Facebook at this hour. So we are covering as many venues as we can in order to get this information out to you guys on Typhoon Hagibis as of this hour. And we will take a look at some of the inundation that is going to be going on, as that is going to be the big issue. We've already seen some of the emergencies coming in, and we'll actually bring a few more maps up. We're going to take a look, see if there's any tornadic threat. And we do have a level 1 tornado alert now in effect. And that is for northern Chiba and southern Imagery Prefecture. So we now have a 1 to 7% chance of tornadic activity in and around this area. This is equivalent, what I would say, almost a tornado watch as it would be here in the United States. So places that will be impacted by this alert do include places like Tomisato, Norita, up towards Katori, Inashiki, Ushiku, Ryugaski, up to Tsuchiura, and up to Tsukaba. So if you guys are in those cities or in those prefecture areas, you now have a tornadic alert over your area. That yellow being a level 1 probability of 1 to 7% chance of tornadic activity in your area. So tornadic risk is starting to become a very big issue with Hagibis at this time.
Tim, I'd just like to cut in and just let the viewers know that another technical issue arose my end, and unfortunately I've had to stop the streaming onto Facebook.
Okay, that is a shame for that, as I know we do have a lot of viewers that could be viewing that information, but we are still going strong here on the YouTube channel. And yes, that is a little bit of breaking news. We do now have a level 1 probability tornadic alert for Chiba and Imagery prefectures. That'll probably be up for a little bit. We will continue to look at the cone that we have on the JMA there on the website, as it is forecasted to go through Shizuoka Prefecture, possibly come back out over into the bay, and probably go through western Tokyo on the western side there, according to the JMA cone. But right now, looking at the JMA radar, it looks like this is taking more of a westerly jog, maybe going up through the bay. Shizuoka City is over in this area of the prefecture, and they are getting hammered with that heavy rain. And that is the webcam that we do have is out of Satoshi in the Shizuoka City area. And we do have a lot of viewers coming in, reporting in out of some of the prefectures and cities of Japan. It is great that you guys are getting this information to us. If it's any really thing intense, we will try to get that information out to you, the viewers. And we had some asking about other webcams. We did have one from Fujisawa, but we switched over to this one in Shizuoka City so we can just illustrate just how bad it is. It looks like we just had a lightning strike there off of the webcam. That was a really bit of a blight flasher, so we may be getting some lightning in and around the Shizuoka City area at this time now. But there again is that tornadic alert. We're actually going to go through the JMA cone, and we're actually going to go into some of the other warnings. We also now have emergencies being issued for a lot of the prefectures, and we will go through those. A lot of this is going to be for heavy rain and inundation. So places like Nagano, Gunma, Toigi, into Ibaraki, into Chiba, Saitama, into Kanagawa, into Tokyo, into Yanamashi, and into Shizuoka, and down into Yeah, into those prefectures. You guys are under emergency warnings for heavy rain and inundation. And we do have someone asking, we got now viewers asking about certain relatives. One asking about her daughter in Nagoya. What is it like there? I can take a look, see where Nagoya is at, and once I know that information, I can go from there. And while I'm doing that, if there are any other questions that are coming up. Okay, Nagoya being just to the east of Kyoto. Yeah, Nagoya is under some warnings. I believe they are under tropical storm warnings as they are close enough to the Kyoto Prefecture that they are getting some of that activity. We'll go back to the Gma Radar just so I can illustrate it here. As this is the Shizuoka Prefecture here. And then getting over just to the west of Shizuoka. Right about in this area is Nagoya and Toyota in the Aichi Prefecture, getting just around Ozazaki. So yeah, they are getting some very heavy rains at this hour. Some of those areas are getting 50 millimeters of rain of hour, which is roughly 2 inches of rain per hour. So getting in and around Nagoya, yeah, they are getting some very heavy rain at this hour. And you can see just out of Satoshi area there on our webcam there, the spray and heavy rain is getting so bad it's actually starting to create visibility issues for that area. And everybody asking what category it is. Right now it is still a category 2 equivalent with 100 mile per hour winds. That was as of the last look of the information from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center and the GMA. I'll actually take a look and see if they've actually updated that recently. And now the JMA still running with 85 knots, 10 minutes sustained, which is roughly 90 knots once you do convert it to 1 minute conversion, maybe 95 knots. So yeah, we are still looking at roughly 100 to 105 miles per hour. And I believe that is what we did run with at the start of our stream, was 100 miles per hour, pressure of 950 millibars. And we have people asking, will the Rugby World Match and Formula 1 be broadcast on the channel? Highly unlikely. We are tropic oriented, so that is not likely to happen on this channel. We're going to be more trying to get everybody away from those events into safety. And looking at any other questions we may have. And again, if you have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. It'll line up really nice for our team to look at. And we have someone asking about Minato. Good old Minato-ku. I can actually take a look at that area. As here's Shizuoka we'll actually go a little bit north off the JMA radar. We'll actually go up into Tokyo itself. We'll actually go up towards the Kanto region. That's probably going to be the closest I can get. And I do apologize if you hear a little bit of background noise. I have sadly 2 cats, and one is being less than cooperative right now as she's been trying to purr and get my attention. But to give you an idea of just how bad it is, you have Shizuoka down here. This is Chiba here. And this is Tokyo under all of this mess. You have Saitama and Tokyo in and around this area. And we'll set this into motion here so everybody can see just how bad it is. Minato is definitely getting some of the heavier rains. So some of the other cities that are being impacted in and around the Tokyo area do include Yokohama, Tokyo, Minato, Shinjuku, Edogawa, Adachi, getting into Koto, Taito, into places like Chiyoda and Cho. So those are some of the wards in and around the Tokyo metro area that are getting this heavier rain at this hour. As soon as the JMA radar decides it wants to load, we'll have that information for you. And again, you guys are watching Force 13 live coverage of Typhoon Hagibis, being hosted by Force 13 US with assistance from Force 13 Australia. Again, okay, there we go. Now the radar's starting to work for us. And yeah, there you can see there's Chiba, there's Saitama, and the heaviest rain just now exiting the Tokyo metro area. And the heaviest rains right now coming down in the Shizuoka Prefecture up into Saitama. We're starting to see some of that starting to get into some of the other prefectures, up into Togichi and into Fukushima as well. So we do have a lot of activity going around in and around the mainland of Honshu at this hour, where Typhoon Hagibis is set to make an imminent landfall this hour sometime. We're not entirely sure where we're going to see landfall at, as looking at the JMA radar, you can see where the eye has really just fallen apart. So it's really going to be hard to tell where it's at. It's looking like what's left of it has made more of a westward jog and is starting to try to traverse into the Suruga Bay. So places like Numazu getting up to Susono, you guys need to be keeping an eye on this. Right now, cities like Shizuoka City itself, Yaizu getting down to Makinohara, you guys are on the western side of it, but you are still getting a lot of the heavy rain in and around the area there. And then getting up into the Saitama Prefecture, some cities that are really getting hammered right now at this hour do include places like Chichibu getting up to Fukuyaya, Honjo getting up into Fujioka, up into places like Takasaki, and into Konosu. So places like that, into Saitama City itself. So all those cities are getting very heavy rains at this hour. Again, this live cam is out of Satoshi, Shizuoka City in the western side of Shizuoka Prefecture. So that's what we do have going on at this hour. We're also going to be going through some of the other maps that we do have going on. Again, we still do have this level 1 tornadic alert for northern Chiba Prefecture for a chance of tornadic activity, 1 to 7% in the level 1 areas. So you guys do need to be keeping an eye on tornadic activity there as well. Getting into the JMA cone there, you can see where it was supposed to make landfall over the eastern Shizuoka side of the prefecture. It does not look like that is happening. It's taking more of a jog to the west, going through the bay. And then we will start looking at some of the other warnings. You can see the emergency warnings there for some of the prefectures, all up and down the mainland of Honshu, Shikoku, and into Kyushu. And we'll actually get into some of the other alerts while some of our team chip in with some of their thoughts at this time.
And Tim, confirmed tornado, tornado in Chiba. And
oh, good
I've got
Lord.
the screenshot on. Yep.
Oh, good Lord.
Another one? Is this another confirmed tornado?
Oh, that was 6 hours ago. Would that be right?
It's all right. We can still take a look at it, so the viewers can actually see just how intense this was. So we'll go back to a single screen for the inundation, and then we will actually pull that up right quick.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. You right?
Yeah. Give me a sec here. Okay. Let me go back to split screen here. All right. Go ahead and play it, David. This was the confirmed wedge tornado that was reported in Chiba Prefecture about 6 hours ago. And yeah, that does look like a monster. Not entirely sure where at in Chiba Prefecture this is at, but that is that's something you normally see in the central plains of the United States.
Look at the lightning flash.
Yeah, so that's normally something you see in the central plains of the United States. This is not normally something you see in and around the prefectures of Japan. This is a little bit of a harbinger of what we had here in the U.S. when Hurricane Dorian raked the South Carolina and North Carolina coastlines. We had 15 confirmed tornado reports from the outer bands of Dorian. So seeing this coming from Hagibis does not surprise me. And yeah, some of the reactions from our viewers is yeah, that's a very big monster. I would be interested to see what the damage from the JMA is finding. And yeah, you could see the arcing there from where the power transformers were blown from that tornado. And yeah, that is an actual tornado. That's not an illusion. That's nothing that any of our team are putting on the screen. That's an actual confirmed tornado from an outer band of Typhoon Hagibis in Chiba Prefecture in Japan.
Yeah, that is possible. That could possibly even be higher than EF2. But we don't know until we see the damage.
Right, and that's the bad part is I'm not entirely sure how the JMA would evaluate it. I know over here in the United States, the National Weather Service would go out and they would do the assessment and then they would release it in a public finding. So I'm not entirely sure what the JMA will actually do for their assessment, but it's going to be really interesting to see what the JMA and the local Chiba Prefecture government find for their damage assessment in and around those areas. But we'll go back and go back to our two screens here. The shot on the right being out of Shizuoka City near the area of Satoshi. This is a traffic interchange, and you can just see the wave action just hitting some of the roadways there. It does actually look like some of the spray has now gotten over onto the roadways there. And then on the left, as we are looking, this is I believe this is the flood inundation map that we're looking at. Yeah, Landside Risk Map. And it does go through a lot of the, we'll actually zoom in for some of the more localized prefectures here. And you can see right here is Chiba, Saitama, so places into like Nagano and into now both sides of the Shizuoka City area and the Shizuoka Prefecture on both sides now showing a high landslide risk. And then getting into some of the other prefectures, and I do apologize, I'm using Google Earth a little bit to kind of get my geography down here just a little bit, as we do now have a high landslide risk for the Aichi Prefecture. This is just north of Shinshiro and into the mountainous areas there. So if you're in places like Shinshiro, Toyokawa, getting up to Okazaki, maybe even towards the city of Toyota, if you're in those areas, you now have a very high landslide risk in your area. The oranges being the moderate risk. And then we do have a lot of those other ones going into the Nagano Prefecture, into western Saitama, and into southern Gunma Prefectures, and even northern Yamanashi Prefecture. So this is getting to be a very bad situation for these prefectures at this hour. And we do have some asking about Gunma. I just covered a little bit of Gunma with the inundation. We'll go through and we will take a look at the flood risk map. That is really going to be the big issue. And yeah, you can see those purples in and around the Nagano Prefecture area. up into, looks like northwestern Saitama Prefecture, getting into the Gunma prefectures. And someone,
And Tim, look at that area.
I know, someone correcting my Japanese on how I pronounce prefectures. I do, like I said at the top of the show, my Japanese not that greatest, so I do apologize if I'm butchering city names or some of the Japanese terminology. So I do apologize for that ahead of time. So, but getting back onto on point, yeah, places like Gunma up into Saitama, into Nagano, maybe even down into into southern Nagano. A lot of the mountainous areas is where you're going to be seeing this flooding risk. So a lot of the mountains like Mount Kita up towards Mount Kakoma, up to Mount Tatashina, into Mount Kinpu. A lot of those areas will be at risk for flooding, and that could also attribute to some of the landslides issues and flooding that we're also seeing. Getting into the inundation that we will see, and there is a lot of already some emergencies for the inundation areas in and around the Tokyo area and some of the prefectures, and you can see the highest inundation does look like it is going to be right around Shizuoka City, getting up into the northern part of Shizuoka, up into Nagano. So those are just some of the prefectures that are going to be getting the heaviest inundation, and then getting into the precipitation overall. And that's where we're going to be really focusing, as some reports are that we are getting anywhere that we could see as much as 600 millimeters up to 1 meter of total rain out of this area. So that is definitely something that we are not looking forward to seeing out of this area. And you can see just how much rain has already fallen in some of these areas. Some areas are already getting some marks of 50 to 80 millimeters per hour. So far, you can see getting up into some of the southern Hokkaido islands. We're starting to see some rain falling in those areas as well. So we will go back to the main radar. We'll actually give it a quick little refresh right quick, and we'll see just where everything is at. We'll actually take a look, see if that tornado threat is still there. It is. It does look like it is still in northern Chiba, and then getting into southern Irabaki. I'm sorry. Ibaraki Prefecture. Okay, I'm sorry. Again, I warned everybody ahead of time. My Japanese is not that great, so I'm trying to do what I can. And we're already starting to get some reports in from the viewers. Over 700 millimeters of rainfall in Hakone near Mount Fuji. Thank you for that report. We're getting some reports that there's a lot of rain in and around the Nagano, Gunma Prefecture areas. Evacuations are given, but for all areas. So again, there is a lot of activity going around for Hagibis at this hour. We'll go back to the Gma Radar again, and we will see where we're at. We may have a landfall at this hour. We will just have to see where it's at.
Tim, just an update to that fatality. It's being reported that the local police said a 49-year-old man in Chihawa City, Chiba, Ichihara, Chiba Prefecture, was killed when a tornado flipped his car.
Oh wow! So that was a tornado-related fatality, probably off of that tornado that you showed.
Possibility, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah, looks like that was the one in the Chiba Prefecture.
Yeah, and we'll get that city back up again that you were talking about. Okay, go and spell.
And the flood water is rising. I just saw a video, and that rainfall factor, that is the key component, and
Yeah, go ahead and spell that city name again for me, David, so that way I can get it pronounced for the viewers.
Okay, well.
And while David's looking that up, you can see the JMA radar again on the
it's
left.
moving fast.
Yeah, we got the JMA radar there on the left. Again, the live shot out of Satoshi in Shizuoka City there. And
ICH. IHARA. Sorry, Tim.
Ichihara. Okay, so yeah, that is in
City.
Ichihara City. That is just off of Tokyo Bay, and that is just to the south of the city of Chiba itself. And so that's where that confirmed tornado was reported. It is just out of Ichihara. And again, if you viewers have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. And we do have viewers saying that evacuation orders were given for off the emergency alert for the Tama River near Tokyo. I believe I still have that information up right quick. And I will go back over that just right quick. Where did I have that at? Okay, yeah, this was
Tim.
Go for it, David, right quick.
Apology in the chat on the channel. Evacuation warning has been in the Shizuoka area. Apology viewers for the pronunciation. Don't stay in underground, more or lower places.
Okay, Shibuya, that is one of the wards of Tokyo. So that is now really getting into the Tokyo area. And that is going to be echoed by the information that we had 2 hours ago. This is coming off of NHK World Japan. And we actually have now breaking news as well, so I will go over those as well. JMA has issued heavy rain emergency warnings for many parts of central and eastern Japan. The warnings are at the highest level on the agency's 5-step scale, so these are level 5 warnings. Affected areas include Shizuoka, Kanagawa, Tokyo, Saitama, Gunma, Yanamashi, and Nagano prefectures. Also, echoing off of that, the Tama River, Tamagawa, which flows through Tokyo, has reached evacuation warning levels, which is at an observation point in Chofu City at around 1:50 p.m. This was 2 hours ago. That level is used as a benchmark by local ward and prefecture governments, which urge residents in surrounding areas to evacuate when it's breached. The ministry and the agency are calling on people in 13 areas along the river to be on alert. Those areas do include the cities of Hachioji, Tachikawa, Ome, Fuchu, Akishima, Hino, Kunatachi, Fusa, Kome, Tama, Hamarura, and Akiruno. So if you were in those cities, the Tama River has probably gotten to a very dangerous level. That's why we now have one of the wards, Shibuya, in the Tokyo area now being ordered to evacuate.
Yeah, this also includes Fusa, so that includes the Yokota Air Force Base.
Okay, yeah, the Yokota Air Force Base, that is on the western side. That is where Force 13 owns Christian Asher is stationed at with his family. I am pretty sure the military has gotten word of the evacuation orders, so I am pretty sure his family will be moving out of that area shortly, as we are just about to cross 5 p.m. Japan time, 4 a.m. Eastern time here on the eastern coast of the United States here at Force 13 US, which is broadcasting on behalf of Force 13 on the coverage of Typhoon Hagibis.
And I believe the JMA is reporting that landfall should be around 6 p.m. local time.
So we have another hour to go, which means, Hagibis is moved west of the cone. It is now starting to traverse up through Suruga Bay, so places like Shizuoka City, getting up into the cities of Fuji, Numazu, up into Mishima, up into Susono. You guys need to be keeping an eye on this, and I do apologize for the background noise. I do have 2 cats, and one of the cats just wants to be a little vocal. I guess he's not too happy that Hagibis is going up through the bay and affecting some of those cities. And yes, I know the viewers did not miss the cat there. Sadly, I do have an open microphone, and sometimes the cats do get on the stream, so I do apologize. But yeah, he's meowing because he's not happy that Hagibis is not doing what the JMA expected it to do. It's going up through Suruga Bay and places like Fuji, up into Namazu, Mishima, up into Susono. You guys could be getting landfall in the next hour. And we've had a viewer ask where this live shot is from. This is out of the area of Satoshi in Shizuoka City in Shizuoka Prefecture. It is on the western side of that prefecture. We have some people asking about Tokyo. Tokyo right now looks to be dry at the moment, as the last rain band has gone through that area up through the Chiba Prefecture area. So most of your heaviest rain right now at this hour is going through places like Yamanashi, up into Nagano, into Shizuoka, getting over into the Aichi, up into Gunma, and into maybe up towards Niigata now. So that's where all the heaviest rain is at. And we do have someone asking about the Atacama River. We will have to see what we can find on the Atacama River. I have not seen anything off of the normal outlets that we're looking at. We'll actually take a look at some of the local news that is coming off of NHK Japan. That's where we're getting a lot of our news source. And we do have some new information coming in now. We now have actually, I'll go through and we'll go through and cover these right quick, as we are getting some new information off of NHK Japan. That's one of a couple sources we're getting information from. If you do have any other Japan media outlets that you would like for us to cite for references, as long as they're reliable, we will look at those. Right now, new information coming off of NHK World Japan. 24,000 homes are without power in the Kanto area. Some of those also include areas in Chiba, Shizuoka, Togichi, Yamanashi, Ibukara, Tokyo, Gunma, Saitama, and Kanagawa Prefecture. So the power outages are going to start becoming very widespread. We saw this happen with Dorian when it came through South Carolina and North Carolina in the United States a month ago. So power outages are going to be an issue going from there. We also now have an evacuation order now being issued as of 2 p.m. local time. So this was 2 hours ago. They do apply to 262,000 residents in and around Gunma, Saitama, Chiba, Tokyo, Kanagawa, Yamanashi, Shizuoka, and Mie prefectures. The order means that authorities consider the likelihood of a disaster to be imminent and urging people to immediately move to safety. There are also advisories in place for over 5 million people in 13 prefectures from central to northeastern Japan. All of the orders and advisories are on a level 4 right now. So the JMA and the prefectural governments are not taking their chances with Hagibis, and I don't blame them.
No,
and the sky, sorry guys, the sky overtaking turned pink, would you believe?
Wow.
And posting there's images in this room.
All right, so we will go through our studio information. We will get that pulled up, and before we do that, there was word that Kanagawa Prefecture was going to be doing water discharge on the Shirayama Dam. That has been put on hold at the moment. And they are noting that it's due to less rainwater flowing into the dam. That is expected, but they are declaring that they haven't decided when they're going to discharge the Shirayama Dam, but they will let residents know 1 hour before that they decide to make that decision. So that is some of the news that is coming off of NHK Japan at this hour. On top of the heavy rain that is coming down in the prefectures at this time. And we will get this. We will go back to the JMA radar right quick so we can get the that shot up that David was able to find. And we can go over some of the watches and warnings. Some of these watches and warnings are probably a little outdated since the top of the show. But the typhoon warnings, tropical storm warnings for Japan and off the coast of the United States are probably still in effect. And this is the U.S. studio, so you will see some information for United States influences and events that are going on there as well, on top of what we also have going on in and around the Japan area. And yeah, that is a very ominous shot there. So we'll put this up on split screen. And yeah, that is... I'm at a loss. I mean, I went through Florence. I went through Matthew and had some influences from Dorian. I have never seen the sky turn purple like that. That is just incredible what we're seeing on screen there.
Do you think that could be affected by the sun, quite possibly?
Honestly, I am not sure. I have never seen that happen, as it is just about 5 o'clock local time in Japan. I don't think sunsets for another hour or two, unless that is the sunset coming in off of the cloud tops of Hagibis.
Yeah, because that could be, I'd say that would be a strong possibility then, because it's pretty light. Colors are pretty light there, so I would say it probably is.
Yeah, that's just some of the images that we're getting out of the Japan area. And again, if you guys do have any pictures for us, you can put them up on our Facebook page. Keyword Force 13. I'm sure David will be scouring for those to get up on screen for you guys so we can get them out over the airwaves. But we will go back to our split screen right quick. And we'll go back to the JMA radar and we will pull back up the shot out of Shizuoka City, where they are getting the worst of it at this hour, as Haggis is going right down through the bay of that bisects the Shizuoka Prefecture area. And really the area is just getting really hammered at this hour. And I am going to step away 1 second because I have a couple cats to tend with. So if you guys have any information that you can get out over the area, then we can do that right quick. I will be back in a moment. Okay. Guess the cats have settled down just a little bit. But yeah, we are. This is still continuing coverage on Typhoon Hagibis here on Force 13, as we have just crossed 4 a.m. here in the United States, 6 a.m. in Brisbane, Australia, 3 a.m. in Chicago, Illinois, and 5 p.m. Japan time, where Typhoon Hagibis is still continuing to batter the Japanese mainland at this hour. We have the JMA radar on the left. Again, the live shot out of Satoshi, Shizuoka City on the right. If you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force 13. It'll light up real nice for our team to look at, as we are going to be here until landfall and maybe a little bit past that, when Force 13's own Nathan Foy will hopefully grace us with his presence and give us his input on what he is seeing on Hagibis at that time. But we will continue to go through the watches and warnings as we are still waiting for landfall. JMA reporting landfall now about another hour out. We'll take a look, see if we still have that tornado alert. It does not look like we have that tornado alert anymore. We'll zoom out of the Kanto area. And yes, we still have a tornado alert for the extreme northwestern area of Chiba Prefecture. So places that would be impacted with this tornado alert do include places like Kashiwa up towards Abiko, Enzai, getting up into... Actually, I think I'm a little far south for that. No, I'm not. Yeah, getting up into those places, up into Ishiku, Joso, up to Tsukaba. So those places, you guys are under a level 1 tornado alert probability. This is a 1 to 7% chance that you will have a tornadic activity in that area. So that is something you guys need to be keeping an eye on. This is pretty common when you are dealing with a tropical cyclone of this nature, whether it be a hurricane in the Atlantic or Eastern Pacific or a typhoon in the West Pacific. So this is very common. Getting into some of the other warnings, and we've kind of covered them a little bit, but we'll touch on them again in case we have any new viewers that are coming in. And that is some of the inundation alerts that we're starting to see. We'll go through the Landside Risk Map, and I kind of covered this a little earlier. And again, I do apologize for the cats there in the background. As you can see, most of the inundation is going to be into Nagano, into western Saitama, and getting down into some of the other prefectures. Getting down into Saitama, Yamanashi, and into Kanagawa prefectures. So you do have that landside risk there. And yes, some people commenting on the cats. Yes, sadly, open mic, so the cats do happen to come over the stream. I do apologize for that. Hopefully that won't be an issue when the US channel moves to Studio 2 sometime next month, and that won't be an issue. And someone asking me to show the cats. Sadly, no. If you want to see some of the cats, you would have to go through previous streams on the main channel and US channel. I do have a small kitten that has ended up in the stream a couple times.
Yeah, and I just want to let you know that I will be stepping out of here myself, since it is now very late on my side, and I do need to rest up for tomorrow. So I will be taking my leave here. Again, great stream going. Keep it up, and hoping for the best for everyone in the path of this storm. Agreed.
Again, thank you, Samuel, for coming into the studio and helping us out. Again, for those viewers, that was Samuel, one of our Force 13 U.S. contributors out of Chicago, Illinois, coming on for a couple hours to cover Typhoon Hagibis. Again, thank you for coming on stream.
Thank you. Good night and good luck with the continuing coverage.
Again, thank you for that. But continue on, as Samuel does leave the studio, we will go through the Inundation Risk Map. As you can see, some of the inundation levels are starting to get pretty intense in around the Shizuoka city area, getting up into northern Shizuoka, up into the Nagano, and into the Gunma prefectures area. Getting into the flood risk map, this is all real time, so most of it's just outdated by a couple minutes here and there. And some of the flood risk is over those same areas that we're seeing some of the landslide and inundation areas. Starting to see some flooding starting to getting into the western Saitama prefecture area. So the the threats are very real for this area, and going through 2 hurricanes myself, going through Florence and Matthew, and getting grazed by Dorian, I know firsthand that this is going to be very bad for a lot of these prefectures. And we got some asking how bad is Chiba, or has Chiba been hit hard? Chiba has actually had a confirmed tornado that was in Ichihara earlier this afternoon. About 6 hours ago, we actually showed the footage of that tornado on stream a little bit ago. So we have had one confirmed tornado, and we do have viewers asking if there's any other streams we can get other than the road and Oceanside. We can try to get some other webcams in the area. I'm pretty sure David will probably be trying to find some other views out once we do get past the Shizuoka City area, where we are anticipating landfall to be in the next hour, as it has not done what the JMA has expected, and we will actually pull up the JMA cone to illustrate that, as the JMA was actually looking at this to possibly make landfall just in around the Ihama area on the eastern side of the Shizuoka Prefecture. It has not done that. It has actually jogged a little bit further west, going up through Suruga Bay. So now places like Fuji, getting up into Numazu, Mishima, up into Susono, are possibly looking at a direct landfall from Hagibis. And the bad part about that is that does put the Tokyo metro area under the greatest risk. And again, the cats are being loud. I think one cat's trying to chase the other, and that's really taking away from the severity of the situation. But David, yeah, if you do have some information, I'm going to try to deal with the cat situation here. Or am I on my own at the moment? Oh, David's muted, so I am on my own at the moment. Okay. So I guess I gotta go solo. And yeah, you guys can hear the cats in the background. I again do apologize. I do have 2 cats, so they do come over the stream, so I do apologize. But getting back into some of the questions, landfall will be more west than, yes, it is going to the west of the anticipated cone. So yeah, places like I'm losing my train of thought here because I just lost my map. But yeah, places like Fuji, getting up into Numazu, into Mishima, Izunokuni, up into Susono, those are going to be areas that are going to be looking at landfall, as it has gone further west up through Suruga Bay. So that is going to be a big issue for the area. And then we'll go back to the JMA radar right quick. I believe I still have a webcam from Fujisawa, so we'll bring that back up right quick. See, do I still have that Fujisawa? No, the Fujisawa is not there, so that is going to be an issue. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, yeah, that webcam went off, so let's see here. Actually, okay, here we go. There we go. We got a live shot back now of Fujisawa. So we'll go back and forth between the Satoshi and the Fujisawa webcams as we do get closer to landfall. And if you guys do have any questions for us, you can tag us at Force13. We'll answer any questions. And again, I do apologize for the cats coming up over the stream. And I know Nathan is going to really just have a laugh riot over the fact of the cats coming over the stream. Sadly, Guess I can get one cat over here where I can pet him so he'll stay quiet on stream. But yeah, that is the live shot out of Fujisawa. That is closer to the Tokyo metro area. And you guys do have the inundation map there on the left side. Actually, that's the flood time risk map. And we'll get into the total precipitation amount, as we could be looking at a historic rain event with possibly 600 millimeters up to 1 meter of rain anticipated. And this is the kind of rainfall we haven't seen since 1958. So that is just how intense this situation is. And then we'll go back to the real-time radar so we can see where Hagibis is at. And again, this is Force 13 live on Typhoon Hagibis, being hosted by Force 13 US. So that is what we have going on at this hour. We'll probably take another break at the top of next hour. Hopefully then Nathan will be available for his insight and analysis on Hagibis, as we do get down into where we are seeing what we believe is the center of Hagibis, getting ready to go through Suragawa Bay up into the Shizuoka City area. And there we go. We got the radar back up and running now. Fujisawa there showing up there on the left, on the right. And it looks like it does rotate around. And yeah, the center now going up through Suragawa Bay. Not entirely sure where we're going to see landfall, as it does look like that the center has collapsed. And now I have cats. And I appreciate the fact that you, the viewers, are being very tolerant of the two cats that I do have. I do apologize again for any interference that they may be making on the stream. But yeah, it does look like the eye, well, what's left of the eye of Hagibis is starting to go up through the Suragawa Bay area. And I know a few of you are saying viewers love the cats. Well, that's not really the situation we're trying to cover. We have a very dangerous typhoon, and if I would have had my way, the cats would not be in here right now. But that'll be something that'll happen when the US channel moves over to Studio 2 sometime next month. So the cats won't be an issue then. But getting back onto the eye of Hagibis, it does look like it is going through the bay. We may actually be able to see where its dead center is at now that I have a chance to really look at it. And it is definitely into the Suruga Bay area, so places that could be seeing a potential landfall if it continues down. This could actually go right between Fuji and in through Numazu. So this would be looks like a bit of a sparsely populated area. We could actually see this actually go into places like Tanaka Shiden, up into the Numazu metro area, into some of the sub-prefectures, some of the sub-cities of Momozato, up towards Ipamatsu and up into Hara and Otsuka. So those are just some of the areas that we could be looking at for potential landfall. And again, if you guys do have any questions, you can tag me at Force13. It'll light up for me to look at, as it looks like David is away at the moment. And we got some of you are saying unconfirmed reports that the storm already landfall in Izu Peninsula. Can I confirm? It doesn't look like it's actually made landfall just yet. The JMA radar might be just a little behind, so we'll go ahead and give it a quick refresh and we'll take a look and see where it's currently at. As we do have a live shot out of Fujisawa, as it is starting to get a little darker now, just a little past 5:30, almost 5:30 Japan time there. You can see it's starting to get a little darker, and that is a big worry with typhoons, is nighttime activity. Okay, and we do have a question coming asking what HPA stands for. That is, I believe, that must be coming off the JMA website. Let me take a look at that. Okay, HPA is, I believe, hectopascals, which is what the JMA uses for pressure measurements. It's very similar to the millibar. It's actually exactly similar to the millibar that you hear used in the East Pacific and in the Atlantic. So it's exactly the same exact thing. And looking at the JMA's latest information, I'm actually going to take another look at it. It looked like they still had it at 9:45, but I'm going to take a quick update on it, see if it's changed, which it has not. Take a look, see if ATCF has updated at all on this. And it has. ATCF, which is what the Joint Typhoon Warning Center uses, has it now 85 knots, pressure of 951 millibars. So now Hagibis is down to, I believe, Category 1 at 90 miles per hour. So that graphic will be updated here shortly. So we could be looking at now a Category 1 landfall, and it does look like Hagibis is eminently close to a landfall. Looking like it could be coming in right around the Ita area of the Shizuoka Prefecture. We'll have to see just to be sure. Now it does actually looks like it may be working on an imminent landfall now at this time. And we will go ahead and we will go through the JMA cone. Since it has gone further west, we will actually track this out overall as to what we're looking at. This was the JMA cone. It has gone further west than anticipated. It's actually gone through Surigao Bay. So now the worst of it, the northeastern side, is going to be going through a lot of the prefectures of Japan. So places that will be getting impacted with the way this path is going. It will be going through places like Numazu, going up into Mishima, up in through Susono. As it does go through, you will start seeing it going up into places like Gotemba, up through Odawara. It did make that quite real quick easterly jog. So places like Izu and going up into Ito may be impacted. If it does stay further east, then it can get back over the Sagami Bay. If it does not, now you're starting to go through some of the cities further north into the Kanagawa Prefecture. You start putting places like Hirosuka, Atsuki, getting up into Sagamihara, getting up into Yokohama, Kawasaki, into Setagaya, and then you start getting into the wards of Tokyo. You start talking Shinjuku, Minato, Adachi, Edogawa, and into downtown Tokyo itself. So that is where this was. That is where it's projected to track, going off of the way the JMA cone has gone, as it has taken more of that westward cone certainty. And we'll actually go through. We'll actually see if we can get some new RAM imagery, as we haven't really looked at the RAM imagery too much recently. And we'll see what it is showing. And it sounds like David is back with us now.
Yes, I had a couple of things to do here in the background, and I'm just looking at the Twitter platform, and not much information is coming out.
No, I would anticipate not too much coming out at this hour, as most of the information has already gone out. We'll go back to the JMA radar. We'll give it another quick refresh, and I will take a look at see what's coming off of NHK Japan and see if there's any new information coming out of that area, as we are looking at an imminent landfall now for Typhoon Hagibis at this time.
Tim, I'm just wondering, I just cited something on Twitter